Hello friends, and welcome back to Eastern Healing. I'm sorry the background is not particularly pretty. I thought I recorded this lecture already, but apparently I did not. So here we go. Let's talk a little bit about Ayurvedic elements, and then we'll talk about doshas. So last week was koshas with a K as in kilo, and this week is doshas with a D as in dog or delta. So I'm going to be looking behind the camera at my notes here a couple of times. Pardon if the lack of eye contact is strange. So in Ayurveda, we do have a 5-element system, and this is completely independent of the traditional Chinese medicine 5-element system. In traditional Chinese medicine, those 5 elements were not an element the way we think of them when we use this word in the West, maybe in metaphysical practices or whatever. In traditional Chinese medicine, they were like the 5 phases or the 5 states of being, in the universe. But in Ayurveda, the elements mean a little bit more like what we think of as an element, and they are on a progression. You're going to notice a progression happening in many of the concepts that we look at in Ayurveda. For example, when we were looking at koshas, the layers of your being, it's a progression from the material to the immaterial and the connected to the universe and the enlightenment, right? So in Ayurvedic 5 elements, the first element that they see of as like the first, most subtle, most foundational element is the element of ether or space. And this is considered, in the universe, this is considered to be associated with like space itself, but also in your body, like the hollow spaces, like inside your lungs, the spaces between cells, the spaces in your inside your digestive tract. And if someone had a lot of ether in their makeup as a person, they would be seen as very imaginative, maybe very subtle in their approach, potentially elusive. This is someone who's got that like, I'm out in the universe vibe, or if they're very present, someone who has a lot of stillness, a lot of receiving, they're just listening with their presence. And that would be ether or space. So when you have this ether, this space, and then you create movement in it, now it has shifted from ether to air. So their concept of the air element, it has to do with this idea of movement. And they see air as an evolution from ether. So that's why it's the second element. So the quality of being in motion, that's like the defining quality of their air element, right? Like wind. You can almost think of this element as more wind than air, but it's translated as air, so there you go. So in our bodies, I want to go back. There's also associated senses and organs of action for each of these. So the air ether is linked to vibration, because that stillness, that indefinable void, things become there. They come from there as a vibration first, right? So this idea of vibes or operating at a higher vibration, that is a descendant from Ayurvedic thinking as well. So the ears are the sense organ of ether, and the mouth is the organ of action because of hearing and vibration. So for air, though, so air is present in our bodies in the form of motion, including the circulation of your blood, your actual breath, right? And the skin is seen as the sense organ of air, and touch, like air pushing against the movement of your skin, right? And then the hands are seen as the organ of action, because this is how we create actions and reach out from ourselves, right? The next is fire. So ether provides fire with the space required to burn, and air provides fire with the ability to burn. And so when you have air and space together, then you have the room for fire to be engendered. So fire is the third element in that it arises from ether and air in their model. So fire is seen as generating energy, just like the sun generates energy for the earth. Our internal fire generates the energy of our body, and it's associated with light and heat, just like fire produces light and heat. And because it produces light, is associated with vision. So the eyes are the sense organ of fire. And it's also associated with transformation. So when a person with a strong fire element in their makeup would be someone who would be seen as adventurous, confident, brave, also progressive, you know, able to see and learn and understand things and then take action on those things that they just learned. They would be seen as being leaders and being able to absorb new information and change their view. The organ of action is, I want to say it's the feet, but I should. Adventurous, absorb information. Yeah, it's the feet. Okay, because the feet are like the symbol of the direction we're taking ourselves in life. So you perceive with the light of fire, and then you act and take yourself in a direction using your feet with the energy of fire. Okay, moving on. So I'm not going to pretend that I understand this one very well, but in Ayurveda, fire causes air to become dense. I don't know if that's got to do with the smoke or what's going on. There is clearly a key concept in this translation and situation that I am missing, and I'm not going to pretend I understand it. But in any case, water is seen to arise from a combination of the previous three. If ether becomes air, air becomes fire, fire becomes water. I don't know. You can look it up and let me know in your discussion post if you feel like it. In any case, water is seen as the fourth element, and it is seen as protecting the body by nourishing it. So it has a little bit more weight to it. You know, water is heavy, so it prevents us from being too dispersed by the ether. Air has a quality of dryness, they would say, so it nourishes our body. Water nourishes our body and protects us from too much air. It's cooling, it protects us from too much fire. So because of its property of nourishing and healing us, water is seen as protective in that way in Ayurveda. And so due to saliva, the taste and the tongue are seen as associated with water, because if your mouth is too dry, you won't be able to taste anything, and you always have saliva in your mouth. So the tongue and taste is seen as the sense organ of water, and the urethra is seen as the organ of action of water because of pee. So there you go. People with a lot of water in their constitution are seen as compassionate, nurturing, and protective via those qualities, protective in the way that a parent is protective, because they want to nurture and nourish the world. And then the last one is earth, and which is seen as a condensation of all the previous elements, and so it is therefore the fifth element, because it is in the most solidified and latent state. So therefore, there's a little bit of a full circle situation going on where earth is seen as not just dirt, but like the aspect of being physically present, like physically having a body, the physical, you know, the physical matter of the world. And because it is the physical matter and it is a combination of all the elements, it is also the conduit through which we experience all the other elements, because they are increasingly dispersed and immaterial as you go back to the original element of ether, and increasingly physical and present in earth, right? So so it's associated with the sense of smell, and therefore the nose, and the organ of action is the rectum, because poop, and that's how our bodies make earth. I didn't make this up. This is how they feel about it. So people with a lot of earth are seen as being really stable, really methodical and reliable, very nurturing, but potentially stubborn. So that's the 5 elements in Ayurveda. And remember, these are a progression where one is leading to the other, and they're coming back to full circle with earth and ether, because earth is how you experience it all and are therefore led to samadhi or enlightenment. So everything and everyone has a combination of all of these elements within them. We are all an expression of the universe. In Ayurveda, they would say we are a bottle of seawater inside a barrel of seawater inside the sea. So we're all made of the universe, right? And we all have all of these. However, they've all come together in their own unique way in you. And so your most healthy, best expression of self and also healthy best balance in your body is going to be different depending on your makeup of the elements. And so it's not that we should all have each one of them in equal portions all the time. It's that you should be in the greatest health for your balance of the elements. And they have created basically 3 common constitutional types of everyone has elements of all 3 constitutional types, because everyone has elements of all the elements. But there is when they call a dosha is your constitutional type, and this says stuff about your body and also about your personality. So I found a YouTube video, it's linked in the reading. And she describes, this is by an Ayurvedic institute, and the woman describes doshas. She is more knowledgeable than I am. So I'm going to leave this video here. You can go watch that 8-minute video. It is still considered part of lecture for this class. And then what I want you to do is go out into the internet and find some kind of dosha quiz, whether it's more chill or more in-depth, whatever suits your life and your fancy. You know, maybe not on the same site where you find out what Disney princess you are, but, you know, just go out, find a dosha quiz, fill it out, see what dosha that quiz would say you are, and then come back to the discussion comments and talk about what you found interesting, and whether or not you agree with your dosha that quiz has provided for you. So I'm going to leave this video here, and you have a great day. Bye, guys.